I had lived in my small apartment for nearly 5 years, surrounded by walls that seemed to separate me from the world. My life was predictable: work, home, occasional trips to the grocery store, and evenings spent scrolling through my phone. I had neighbors, of course, but our interactions never went beyond polite nods in the hallway. That all changed one rainy afternoon. I was struggling to carry a heavy bag of groceries up the stairs when I slipped, nearly falling onto the slick tiles. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Hey, are you okay?" I looked up and saw Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, the couple from apartment 3B, rushing toward me with umbrellas and concern etched on their faces. I muttered a quick thanks, embarrassed, and tried to regain my balance. They insisted on helping me carry my bags inside, and for the first time, I noticed how warm and welcoming their smiles were. Inside their apartment, it smelled faintly of freshly baked cookies and lavender. They offered me a cup of tea, which I accepted, still awkward and unsure of what to say. We sat in their cozy living room, the rain tapping against the window, and I felt an unfamiliar sense of connection. They asked about my work, my hobbies, and even my childhood memories, listening with genuine interest. I realized I hadn't had a conversation like this in years, and it was both comforting and unsettling. Before I left, Mrs. Thompson handed me a small plate of cookies. "You need to take care of yourself," she said kindly. Mr. Thompson smiled and added, "And remember, we're just next door. Don't hesitate if you need anything." I nodded, holding the plate close, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through me. That rainy afternoon marked the beginning of something I didn't yet understand, a bond that would slowly but surely change my life in ways I never imagined. After that rainy afternoon, my routine slowly began to shift. The Thompsons didn't just disappear after helping me. They kept reaching out, small gestures that brightened my otherwise monotonous life. One evening, as I was returning home from work, I noticed Mrs. Thompson standing by her door, holding a basket of fresh fruit. "We thought you might like some apples," she said with a cheerful smile. I accepted them gratefully, realizing how unusual it felt to receive such genuine kindness from neighbors. Over the next few weeks, I found myself spending more time in their apartment. Sometimes it was casual tea, other times it was shared meals. Mr. Thompson had a quirky sense of humor, telling stories about his younger days, while Mrs. Thompson was endlessly patient, asking questions and listening attentively. I began opening up in ways I hadn't with anyone for years. My walls, once firmly in place, started to crumble, replaced by a sense of belonging I hadn't realized I was missing. One Saturday, they invited me to help them with a small gardening project on their balcony. At first, I hesitated. Gardening had never been my thing, but the experience was surprisingly calming. We planted herbs, watered flowers, and even laughed when a stubborn pot tipped over, spilling soil across the floor. It was messy, but in that mess, I felt alive in a way that my solitary apartment had never allowed. For the first time, I began to notice the little things in life: the smell of wet earth, the sound of laughter echoing through the hall, the warmth of human connection. The Thompsons weren't just neighbors anymore. They were becoming a part of my life in a way that slowly, almost imperceptibly, changed me. I started looking forward to evenings filled with conversation, the simple joy of sharing stories, and the comfort of knowing someone truly cared. As spring turned into summer, the bond between us deepened. The Thompsons' apartment became a haven for me, a place where laughter and conversation replaced the emptiness I had grown accustomed to. One evening, Mr. Thompson suggested we organize a small neighborhood gathering on the rooftop terrace. At first, I hesitated, unsure of how neighbors would respond, but the thought of connecting with others in the building sparked a quiet excitement I hadn't felt in years. The day of the gathering arrived, and the rooftop was transformed. Strings of lights hung between railings, and potted plants added splashes of green. Mrs. Thompson had baked cookies and small cakes, and Mr. Thompson had brought a portable speaker to play soft music. Neighbors trickled in, shy at first, but gradually conversations started flowing. I found myself talking to people I had only seen in passing, discovering shared interests, and laughing at stories that had once seemed unimportant. It was during that gathering that I realized how isolated I had been. The walls I had built around myself weren't just physical, they were emotional. Yet, in the warmth of that evening, surrounded by smiling faces and the gentle hum of conversation, I felt those walls slowly dissolving. One of the younger neighbors, a woman named Sarah, shared a story about her recent struggles at work, and I found myself offering advice, encouragement, and genuine empathy. I was connecting, truly connecting, in a way I hadn't known I was capable of. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I felt a profound sense of belonging. The Thompsons had not only opened their home to me, they had opened a door to a world I had almost forgotten existed. That night, as I returned to my own apartment, I realized something had shifted within me. Life no longer felt like a lonely routine. It was now filled with possibility, friendship, and the quiet hope that meaningful connections could blossom in the most unexpected places. The following weeks brought more small adventures that gradually reshaped my life. The Thompsons had a habit of inviting me to activities I would have once declined without a second thought. One Sunday morning, they knocked on my door with 2 bicycles, grinning. "Come with us," Mrs. Thompson said. "There's a little park a few miles away, perfect for a ride." My initial hesitation melted under their enthusiasm. I found myself pedaling alongside them, the wind brushing against my face, and for the first time in years, I felt free in a way that had nothing to do with work or obligations. At the park, we spread a blanket and shared sandwiches, fruits, and stories. Mr. Thompson recounted tales from his travels abroad, his words painting vivid images of distant lands, while Mrs. Thompson talked about her childhood in a small countryside town. I listened, fascinated, and slowly began sharing pieces of my own life, my dreams, fears, and forgotten passions. Their patience and genuine interest made it easy to open up, something I had long avoided out of fear of judgment. It wasn't just the big gestures that affected me, it was the small ones too. A simple knock on the door to check if I wanted coffee, an invitation to watch a movie together, or even a shared laugh over a silly mishap. Each moment chipped away at the loneliness I had carried for so long. I began noticing how much I had underestimated the power of connection, how meaningful human interaction could bring color to even the dullest days. By the end of that weekend, I realized that my perspective on life had started to shift. I was no longer content to stay hidden behind my apartment walls. I wanted to explore, to engage, to be part of the world that the Thompsons had quietly shown me. Their kindness wasn't just changing my days. It was transforming the way I saw myself, giving me courage to step beyond fear, hesitation, and solitude. Months passed, and my life felt profoundly different. The Thompsons had not just been kind neighbors. They had become catalysts for a change I hadn't even realized I needed. I was no longer the person who spent evenings alone, scrolling through my phone or staring at the walls. I laughed more, spoke more freely, and allowed myself to be vulnerable, knowing that genuine care existed just next door. One evening, Mr. Thompson invited me to join a small volunteer project in the community. Hesitant at first, I agreed, and the experience turned out to be transformative. We painted walls in the local shelter, planted flowers in neglected public spaces, and interacted with people from all walks of life. Each smile, each word of gratitude, made me realize that the world was not as lonely or intimidating as I had once believed. The Thompsons guided me not just with advice, but with example, showing through action how generosity and openness could reshape a life. Then came a quiet moment that changed everything. We were sitting on their balcony, watching the sunset, when Mrs. Thompson handed me a small photo album. "Look," she said softly. Inside were pictures of all the little adventures we had shared. The park, the rooftop gathering, small dinners, and even snapshots of me smiling, a side of myself I had forgotten existed. As I flipped through the pages, Tears filled my eyes. These neighbors, once strangers, had illuminated a path back to joy, trust, and connection. I realized then that life doesn't always need dramatic events to change. Sometimes it's a consistent presence, a kind word, or a shared laugh that shifts everything. The Thompsons had done exactly that. They had changed my life, quietly, steadily, and profoundly. And for the first time in years, I felt truly at home, not just in an apartment, but in the world around me. Their kindness had shown me the beauty of human connection, and it was a lesson I would carry forever.